Why ancient humans rarely got lost. Level 1. You wake before dawn. Mist hangs low like a secret. The world is quiet, but for the clack of your bones. You are leaving shelter. Not for sport, not for curiosity. For survival. Your first lesson is fear. It sits behind your teeth. It makes you small and sharp. It points your eyes toward edges. You learn to read what moves and what stays. A cracked boulder. A lone pine leaning like an old man. Water that remembers the valley's bones. You map with terror as your teacher. Every sound becomes a contour. Every shadow a possibility. Fear does not paralyze. It organizes. It carves routes into your mind. You mark dangers like landmarks. You avoid the places death prefers. You remember the nights when the sky swallowed your friend. You remember the smell that came after. You fold those memories into a map. A map made of smell, sound, and small, stubborn details. It is crude. It is lethal. It keeps you alive. Level 2. Night is not empty. It is full of markers. Stars are not just pretty. They are a compass burned into the dome. You learn constellations the way others learn prayers. Their slow drift is a calendar and a road sign. You measure distance by the tilt of Orion's belt. You count nights by the way the moon cuts the river. You learn to find north in cold breath and waste heat. Wind speaking against your face tells you which way valleys fold. Silence tells you where animals go to die. You watch birds leave roosts. They follow corridors. You learn to follow them. The world is a lattice of repeated paths. Game trails become human trails. Rivers become travel plans. The land reveals itself if you sit and listen. Patience is another map. You sit until patterns emerge. Until the language of movement decodes into direction. You practice this until it is silent and automatic. Night navigation is not mystical. It is habit shaped by fear and need. Level 3. Your hands carry history. You hold objects that anchor memory. A pile of stones, a tuft of hair on a branch, a notch in a tree. These are not decorations. They are signals in a landscape that otherwise forgets you. You place them deliberately. A cairn on a ridge says, I passed here. A scrape on bark says, I came this way and returned. These tiny inventions are treaties with uncertainty. They say, follow me if you wish to be found. They say, danger ahead. They are the first public infrastructure. You teach others by leaving signs. Children grow up reading them like books. No legend needed, only context. Every marker has a grammar. Stones mean direction. Char marks mean fire and warmth. Bones warn of predators. You learn to read the landscape's annotations. You become an interpreter. The world is saturated with hidden messages. You build and read them with trembling hands. They are cheap, brutal, and effective. They save lives. Level 4. Memory is communal. You don't travel alone. You carry stories like tools. Elders speak of bad places and good routes. Songs encode rivers and ridges. Rhymes hold coordinates. Your myths are practical manuals. They repeat place names and landmarks. They punish forgetting. Children chant migrations into their teeth. Dances mimic the slope of a pass. Rituals map the terrain into bodies. Your leg knows the steps of the route before your head does. Knowledge is taught the way DNA teaches cells. You inherit orientation as you inherit blood. This is cultural technology. It is quieter than compasses, but older, more embedded. It converts fear into skill. It turns isolated knowledge into a network. If one person fails, another remembers. The landscape becomes a shared memory palace. That is why you rarely lose your way. You are never truly alone on the paths. You move with generations at your shoulder. Level 5. Animals are your secret guides. You learn to read their business like text. Fresh scat says direction. Tracks point to water. Buzzing insects show damp ground. Predators and prey shape the world with their needs. You mimic their logic. You walk like deer near bedding. You follow fox scent lines. You use their hunger as a map. Sometimes you follow vultures to the last meal. Sometimes you follow beetles to carrion stacked with warning. You learn to trust subtle cues. A snapped twig, a flattened grass, a scattering of stones. Nature hides its signage in the tiniest details. You learn to see them. And when the human-made markers fail, the animal world keeps speaking. It is patient and brutal and honest. It will not mislead you on purpose. You listen, you survive. Level 6. There is a hidden geometry beneath the visible world. Ridges are seams, river confluences are magnets. Wind-carved hollows are natural corridors. The land collects movement like water collects leaves. You learn to read its secret currents. The easiest route is rarely the straight one. It curves to avoid cliffs and thickets. It drops to soft ground. It follows the pulse of least resistance. You walk those pulses. You learn how terrain funnels migrants, herds, armies. You learn where the land betrays you. A false valley ends in a wall of boulders. A seductively flat plain hides quicksand. Your knowledge is a map of exceptions. You memorize the traps tucked inside open spaces. Every passage has a price. Every shortcut can be a grave. Your wisdom is about avoiding death, not about conquest. That makes you cautious. And cautious people tend not to get lost. Level 7. Fear, then, is the first tool. Memory is the second. Animals and stars are the third and fourth. But the final thing is a dark, private pact. You know that getting lost is not only a physical danger. It is an erasure. It severs you from stories, from food, from community. You become very careful with that reality. You honor roots as if honoring life itself. You whisper to the land as you pass. You leave marks that say, I was here and I remember. You build networks of meaning out of pebble and song and scent. You teach your children to listen to the world's small hints. You teach them that the world is alive with directions if you refuse to be arrogant. So you move like a shadow that knows the script. You navigate because you've been trained to be afraid and to be precise because you know the consequences of not being either. Because the hidden reality of the land is patient and unforgiving. And because losing your way is the slowest form of death, you don't relish that. You learn otherwise. You don't get lost. You survive. Final line. Tonight, the sky folds over you. You breathe and the path remembers your step.